Hey, I'm Justin. Welcome back to my channel. Get on in here, settle down, get your snack because we have so much to talk about. The Grammys were this past weekend. We're going to talk a little bit of fashion, history, awards, Beyonce. The Oscar season has been an absolute mess. I mean, scandal after scandal after scandal. So I'm going to tell you my favorites of the Academy season, what I think should happen. I'm going to weigh in on the AI controversy, Sophia Gascon's controversy, and we're going to talk Trump and tariffs. So let's just jump right in. So the Oscars were held February at the Oscars. The Grammys were held February 2nd in Hollywood. And a lot of the show was themed around the fire response, the LA wildfires, and the community kind of coming together. For me, and I don't hear a lot of other people putting her as number one, Kelsey Ballerini slayed the red carpet. That sculpturesque, bodice that she had, I just thought it was perfection from head to toe. She was my best dressed. My worst dressed for me is Billie Eilish. Okay, you know what I mean? This like lesbian chic, and it's not even chic, but I'm not into it. Her style is boring to me. It is calculated and boring, which is the problem. Like she's doing it on purpose. Jaden Smith was obviously interesting. I think the whole look was Louis Vuitton. I'm not sure or maybe not Louis Vuitton. I think I heard earlier today that the brand name was called Transylvania. And so I don't know what the story is behind the brand, but it was interesting, and a lot of people are talking about it. I thought Doechii looked interesting. So many people had great looks, but after 99 nominations and oh my goodness, 20 something years in the industry, Beyonce finally won Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter, for which earlier in the day or the day before, she finally announced the Cowboy Carter tour, which I am super, super excited for. I've seen some people post the Houston this summer, like June 24th or there around, the Houston date. I may do Houston. I'll probably do Houston as I'm thinking about it, because that should be a good show. Album of the Year, country album of the year, which, and obviously the memes have gone around. She had the big shocked expression. There were some people saying that Casey Musgraves, who might have been a little touchy or testy about it, but I don't think so at all. Casey Musgraves won Best Country Song for The Architect, and I thought that was well deserved. The Architect was my favorite song on that project. It was a really good album. The Architect was my favorite song. It was on repeat for me for maybe 6 weeks this year. Irish Goodbye is another good one from Casey Musgraves. Deeper Well. She's got a bunch. Deeper Well itself is a good one. However, Cowboy Carter as a project, while not perfect, is the superior project. So, not familiar with all of the other country projects this year, but I think the top two were really Casey Musgraves and Cowboy Carter. And, we're talking about genre bending, genre redefining, being kind of obstinate in the face of, and just incessant criticism. And the criticism hasn't stopped. It's been a couple of days since I keep wanting to say the Oscars, since the Grammys, and the controversy just continues. People wanting to define country for themselves, But I read something interesting today that, for the last 20 years, country's been crap. They've been redefining country for the longest, bringing in pop influences. I got in through Lady Antebellum, which was kind of more of a pop country vibe. And there's been a lot of hip hop influences in country and over the last 10 or 15 years. The melodies, like kind of those trap snare beats. And so to kind of draw the line at Beyonce is kind of obvious hypocrisy and, dare I say, racism. But, the story continues. I'm really interested to see what Act 3 is for Beyonce. Beyond Cowboy Carter, what genres she tackles, because she's already been awarded, I would say, in so many different genres of music, 99 Grammys. But anyway, so who were your standouts? Chappell Roan won Best New Artist, which was really awesome. Kendrick Lamar took home, I think he was 5 for 5. Best Song, Record of the Year, et cetera, et cetera. And, fine by me. I don't know how far you can go with a song about pedophilia that's really kind of a negative song. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I'm just not a huge fan of the negativity. I think Drake is a great artist, and I'm an empath, and I can't imagine what he's thinking and feeling right now. I know it's not cool to be concerned with, how someone is experiencing this, but it just can't be fun for Drake. And that's not the point of music. The point of music is not to ruin people. It's to have fun. It's to be an artist. And, so something went wrong somewhere, along Drake's path. And I think that's what he needs to kind of figure out. But anyway, Grammys, Schmammys. Have you guys been in on this Academy Award mumbo jumbo? So I've seen most of the stuff. I saw some friends of mine, we went to go see Nora several months ago. I had a super controversial take and opinion of it. Wasn't my best film of the year. It reminded me of like an HBO signature film, like a really good HBO Sunday night premiere film. But I could not, and really still cannot understand it in terms of the, Oscar conversation. I saw Nosferatu a couple of weeks ago and was really excited to see it pick up 4 Academy Award nominations in technical categories. Wicked was a phenomenon to me. It's probably the best musical I've ever seen, and really lives up to the spirit and the fun and the whimsy of the original Wizard of Oz. I mean, I was just blown away. You're basically seeing, just like in 1939, where you were seeing Technicolor for the first time, you're seeing a new way of showing these big, giant spectacles, a new, way of filmmaking, and I just thought it was breathtaking. I watched The Brutalist, did not like it. It's fine, but I've already seen Schindler's List. I've already seen, these particular epics. And I found that it was ultimately kind of a war propaganda or a Zionist or a settler propaganda piece that really didn't have anything behind it. The story was completely made up, the characters are made up, and so you've made up all of this stuff in service of, getting your agenda across. And then when you couple that with kind of the AI discussion, where they enhanced Adrian Brody's Hungarian accent, and that's what they've admitted to. So if they admit to enhancing his accent with AI, what other aspects of the film were digitally enhanced? The film is about a fictional brutalist architect, so were the designs AI generated? That interesting marketing campaign with the the titles coming in and the music, was that AI driven? And so there's the stink of AI all over the the film at this point for me. And because I really didn't think it was substantial or that important of a film, it's a completely made up premise, there's no point in rewarding a film like that, in my opinion, with an Oscar. And I think in terms of AI manipulation, you kind of do have to set a precedence, because if you give the green light here, films are going to say, well, you didn't stop that, and so this qualifies. And so I think, for me, The Brutalist is kind of out of the conversation. Amelia Perez. Amelia Perez has been on my radar for so long because of Zoe Saldana. A friend of mine that I work with, he and I both are not fans of musicals whatsoever. But I told him, I said, watch this space, because Zoe Saldana has been in Guardians of the Galaxy. She's been in Avatar. Any move that a $2, $3, $4 billion actress makes, not idly do the leaves of Lorien fall. Watch what she does. And, she's already won the Golden Globe for Best Actress. So I said that project is going to be interesting to see what Zoe Saldana chooses as a quote-unquote passion project. I am heartbroken for what has transpired. A lot of groups, trans groups, Mexican rights groups, a lot of people have come out against Amelia Perez in terms of authenticity, in terms of giving a voice to the groups and the audiences that the film is supposed to represent, and ultimately not being a favorable representation of trans folks. And then in that conversation, unfortunately, Sophia, the character that plays, the actress that plays Amelia Perez, some of her statements have come to light, and they are just kind of unforgivable, to the point where you kind of have to distance yourself from the film. Long story short, I'm at a point where I'm not even sure the cast will show up to the Oscars. As the days have gone on from the scandal, I'm starting to think they probably should. You probably should show a united front in terms of showing up to the Oscars, but Sophia Gascon, I don't think that she can show up, just because of the questions that will be asked of her. And certainly I don't think she has the opportunity to win at this point, with voting not starting until February the 11th. So voters, they have a little bit of time to digest some of these scandals and some of these controversies. I heard a guy say, my God, this year, it's just like Conclave. They're taking out films left and right, and it's really, really bad. Really, really bad. A Complete Unknown was a fabulous musical. Wicked and A Complete Unknown were the two musicals that I really did enjoy this year. I saw several others. The End with Tilda Swinton and Michael Shannon, a really interesting presence. But I'm just kind of burnt out on musicals at this point. I did not see A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg and oh my goodness, Macaulay Culkin's brother. I did see The Apprentice, which is one of my films of the year, with Sebastian Stan. I did see A Different Man with Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearson. Those are my two top films probably of the year, both starring Sebastian Stan. He's already taken, I think, Best Actor at the Globes, and so I think I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that he goes on to win the Academy Award. Conclave had some excellent performances. It was more of an ensemble performance than an individual actor, but they were all, on their A games. Ray Fiennes and Stanley Tucci, and it was just a really, really phenomenally themed movie. The costumes, the dialogue, the pacing, Conclave is probably the best film of the year. And if it's February the 4th, 2025, as I'm talking about these things. Mm-hmm. Conclave is my pick for Best Picture of the year. Demi Moore is my pick for Best Actress of the year. We didn't even talk about The Substance, which was the thrill ride of the year. It was probably my favorite theater experience. Really, really phenomenal things came out of Hollywood. Wicked, The Substance, Conclave, A Complete Unknown. Really some good stuff. And then there were some real stinkers too. Megalopolis was probably one of the worst films ever made. Y2K was probably one of the worst films that came out of A24 that I can think about. I'm a huge A24 fan. So anyway, all kinds of controversy surround the Oscars. What was your favorite film of 2024? Who are you rooting for at the Oscars? In the technical categories, I'm rooting for Alien Romulus and Nosferatu. Acting, I'm rooting for Demi Moore and Sebastian Stan. In terms of films, I'm rooting for Wicked and Conclave. So, I'm all over the Academy map. So, last but not least, and then I'll let you guys go, Trump is swinging that pen. He is wheeling and dealing, and I haven't made up my mind completely about, how I feel about some of these changes. Sweeping tariffs have been announced. Conversations were had with Justin Trudeau, with the leader of Mexico, the female leader of Mexico, also with China. And what I think the stock market and what we're taking away from all of this noise is that it's kind of the opening salvo for negotiations. Things are not going to turn out to be as extreme as they have been talked about. But, you swing a big stick and it allows you to negotiate a lot better. Now, while I'm not 100% on board with all of the methods that Trump uses, why couldn't we have employed some of the weight of the United States to get some other things done in terms of humanitarian crises, infrastructure to developing countries? I think it's really disappointing to see how things can move just based on Trump's threats, and think about the time that has been wasted, the little things that we've gotten along the way, the Obamacares, this and that, and we're incredibly grateful for things like that. But I think for a Democrat to take it moving forward, they're going to have to get real about what they can actually deliver, how they're going to do it, because whether you like it or not, Trump's threats have been incredibly effective to, the leaders of different countries. What's going to be interesting to me is how, he's wheeling and dealing and like bulldozing a lot of these world leaders. What happens internally when, then it's time to deal with the Congress and the Senate? Are they going to just lay down and kind of, enact all of his policies in some way? Or is the world going to see the internal struggle of the American government? Now that, the checks and balances system is there for our benefit. But Trump seems to think that, making unilateral decisions, is the best and most effective way to go. So, watch that space. There's a lot going on. I'm with the Canadian, I'm an American citizen, but I completely stand with Canadian citizens that will decide to buy Canadian going forward, that will decide to vacation maybe in UK-based places, like in the Caribbean versus going to Florida. I totally understand that. You enact tariffs on Canada, and they're responsible for bringing in, I read, 43 pounds worth of fentanyl across the border. Immigration from Canada is generally, and it's I can say these things, but immigration from Canada is generally educated. It's generally skilled, and so in order to compare Mexico and Canada, I think is unfair. I think what's happening to people at the southern border, I think is a real shame. I think it's a wake-up call to people. I wrote on Facebook earlier today, I said, once they realize that their shortcomings were not fixed by rounding up the immigrants and getting rid of them, who do you think they're going to come after next? If not in such an extreme way, and other ways. And quote unquote sanctions are not just things that are levied on other countries. Detroit, Baltimore, we understand sanctions, holding back funds and programs and access and education and affordability. We understand tariffs, black taxes, and Native Americans understand tariffs. And so, if they're not, once that scapegoat is gone, what's next is a question I pose to you, and something that concerns me deeply. But anyway, we've gossiped enough. It's been about 20 minutes. The Grammys, I really had a good time. Doechie's performance was really, really cool. Chappell Roan, she's got a really, really cool style. I didn't know a whole lot about Chappell before the Grammys night, and so I'll be looking into her. And they really did try to spread the love pretty evenly across the industry to, from younger artists to older artists, traditional R&B, dark skin, light skin. There really was not they were just like, we're not going for the controversy this year. Next year, I'm looking forward to seeing Bad Bunny on the stage. His recent album is really interesting. Continue to watch the Academy Award and the Oscars debacle. All we can do is just keep our fingers crossed and keep watching Trump to see what happens next. Please leave me some comments below, share your thoughts, and until our next conversation, have a wonderful day, and we'll chat soon.